It's a great honor for me to be here today and sharing in the information that Brahmarshi Pitamaha Patriji has brought to the people of India. And I'd like to thank not only Pari, who I spoke to a month ago. We've become very close. We have a synchronicity. And my teacher, who passed away in 2010, the government killed him. He was working on an advanced healing technology, and they shot a beam. They do not want this technology out there. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that we contend with in the earth. I'd like to ask for four healthy people to come out. We're going to move some of my technologies that you saw. We're going to bring them out on the stage, and then we're going to do a little laser light show for you later. So can I have four healthy men to come up, and you're going to guide them, and you're going to have them hold. Three people will hold the positions, and you're going to move the heavy weights, and we'll put them. We'll put one right here. We'll put one over there. Okay. So while they're doing that, I'd like to talk about the wonderful people, all of you who have come here. I was very fortunate in my life. I've had some masters teach me. I have a past life, and my mission remains to act as a postman delivering a message. I'm going to tell you some very fantastic stories now while we're preparing for my talk, and we're getting this technology up here. In 1978, well, in 1974, we're going to move that over in the corner. We don't want that to block my PowerPoint presentation. So we're going to get that over there, and we need to move the heavy weights so that will hold down. So in 1974, I was in high school. I was 16 years old. I've actually been in this for 50 years. I'm 67 years old. So it's been a long time that I've been working with pyramids. And we were the first ones, respect to Patriji, but in 1974, I was in high school. I was talking about pyramids, and the girl says, "I know the Pyramid Man." I said, "The Pyramid Man? Really?" So I went up to his house, and he wasn't there. And she invited me in, and she had pyramids all over the place. He had pyramids, and she said, "He'll be home soon." And when he came in with 10 of these gold-plated pyramids. He had already been working with a master named Sarinjava Roy, who was in California. He was learning from a great master, and he had an ashram on Haight-Ashbury. He was the guru that had all the flower children going to San Francisco to learn about love and to spirituality. His name was Sarinjava Roy from Benares. He also had an appearance by Babaji. He was a scientist. His great uncle invented the telephone. His father invented the automatic transmission, the alternator for Henry Ford. At the age of 15, he was studying the shock wave of the atomic bomb in a linear collider in Ann Arbor, Michigan. At the age of 16, he was put into the Air Force. So if those are all down, I'm going to have we're going to pass out some very high-end pyramids. I want you to wear these. And again, no disrespect to Patriji, but the paper and the cardboard pyramids are good, but I'm going to show you what these pyramids can do. These are steel frame pyramids plated with nickel and gold. Gold's molecular structure is pyramid shaped. Why do we value gold? Why do we value diamonds? Diamonds are octahedral shaped. So the pyramid is very important. So you can try all these pyramids. We'll bring them to you. And these pyramids are a little more expensive than the paper pyramids, but all pyramids work. So again, I would like to thank all the people for coming here. I have been to India. Sai Baba called me to his side. I've been following Sai Baba. He came to me in dreams since I was young. And I had planned to go to Puttaparthi in India in 2004. I had a surgery and I was unable to go. So The first day out of the hospital, I went to a satsang, and the friend of mine is a famous artist, and he had pictures of Babaji Satya Sai Baba, and I looked at the picture, and I was just recovering, and I said, Baba, you always said to ask for an interview, not an interview. I will not see you in this lifetime. One of my students was a famous basketball player. He signed a contract for $55 million. And he was going to go with me. He said, are we going to go see Baba? I said, no, Michael, I don't have any money, but I can tell you how to get there. And he said, no. I will pay your way. So Baba, Satya Sai Baba, gets me a first-class round-trip ticket on Air India. I'm way up, I've never been on a plane in first class before. It was up there, and in the seat in front of me, the airways, they had a picture of Baba on the cover. It doesn't end there. When we got on the plane, he handed me $5,000 in cash. So Baba bought me first class to India. And so I felt very blessed in my life to be able to go there. And I went up to Rishikesh and Hardwar and Lakshman Jhula. And I had spent time in the ashram with Sai Baba. This was when the tsunami came. And 2 days before the tsunami, Baba didn't come out for darshan. Why? Because he was already organizing the Sevadals around India to prepare to go to help the people in India for the tsunami. Now, I'd like to thank all of the Sevadals here. So many people have been so kind to me. I was in a car accident recently, and I had a concussion, and I have a damage to my back. And so many people here, not even official helpers, have offered to help me, have been concerned to help me up the stairs and to offer their help. The people of India and the spiritual culture of India is very high. There's going to be some great changes on the planet, and I'm going to share with you because I speak with the angels. I have been gifted with some very powerful experiences in my life. And there's a friend of mine in the back there, Raymond Keller. I'm going to ask you to come up here. He got to live on the planet Venus for 2.5 months. He's written many books. So I'm going to tell you another thing about my history so you can understand a little where I'm coming from. So my PowerPoint's going to start here in a minute. And who's in charge of the PowerPoint? Who's going to be changing my PowerPoint? So I'm going to raise my hand when I want you to change a picture. I have a lot of images. So I've had an experience with Babaji as well. In 1978, yeah, not that one. Oh my God, not that one. Is that the one I sent you? Holy smokes. Oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did speak in China. So as usual, there's a little bit of an error. I'm going to ask someone in the back, James. James, could you go back and get my computer and see if they can hook that up? I'm very grateful for my position. Dr. Raber Andrew Keller, please come to the front of the stage. So in 1978, my teacher, in 1974, the first book my teacher said, read Autobiography of a Yogi. This book changed my life. I realized the truth of Christ in all religions. I read that book with amazing fervor and spiritual knowledge. I have always been knocking on the door. I want the truth. I want the whole truth. I want to know why we're here, what is so wrong with this world. So I have a bunch of, James is going to be handing out my business cards. And anybody who's interested, I'd like you to take a business card, and you can go to my website. I have a lot of information there. And I talk about the pyramids and the advanced healing technologies. So, James, if you could get my, did you get that over there? So I think if you open it up, it's probably on the top. And the code is Valiant Thor 88. That should open it up. And I actually left the PowerPoint on the front page, and hopefully we can get that out there for you. After the prayer, and the sun came out for the first time. And I said, where am I going to go? And I just started walking. And this young man said, the master wants to see you. The master wants to see you. And I said, I already have a master. And he took me by the hand, and he said, the master wants to see you. And I went, and there was this little tent. And inside was a girl, and there was Mahavatar Babaji. Very small waist, very small, skinny little boy, 19 years old. And you know how when people bald, their hair goes back like this, little, and it's in the front? He had a very high forehead, but his hair was straight across. His hair was not as long as the picture that you often see. And he showed me something. He was in the lotus position, and I could do the full lotus, so I got in the full lotus position. And my lotus muscular, my feet were here. Babaji's feet were behind his wing. I mean, woo! That boy had a full lotus. And he said, I want to show you something. And he put his hands like this. And then he kind of shivered. And he rolled his eyes back in his head. And I watched as his pupils disappeared. And then all I could see was the white of his eyes, and they kept rolling. His eyes were looking straight up. And I already knew about the breath of fire, and I knew about the bindus. And so he taught me the science of the still breath. Offering the in-breath to the out-breath. So you found it. So this was an amazing experience. So my experience with Sai Baba was in 2004. And I had to get a visa. And so I went to the Indian place to get my visa. And when my passport came, it was on November 23rd, Sai Baba's birthday. So a series of miracles took me to India first class. And I have to say, I felt like I was at home. I felt the spiritual energy of India. I also work with the extraterrestrials from the planet Venus and from the Pleiades. I've met them. I've been taken aboard their motherships. And I am tasked with delivering a message to humanity. And the message is the same as the message of all the great masters. That we're not alone in the universe. We never have been alone and never will be alone. If you've never read the Bhagavad Gita, I suggest you read. Yogananda wrote a book explaining the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna Prabhupada, he was okay, but Paramahansa Yogananda explained to you that real experience of the battle of the Bhagavad Gita was actually a symbolic battle between the interior battle that everyone faces between the light and the dark in your daily life. Read that. He also wrote a book called The Second Coming. Where's James? James. Get Raymond up here right now. So we're going to have my friend Raymond Keller come up. I want you to see him. He's a master. He was taken to Venus in December 21st in 2012. I had met them many times in my life, but they never acknowledged who they were. And so I'd had these experiences, and I was telepathically connected to them. I know when I see them and meet them, not always, but they were appearing to me to prepare me for what happened to me on November 20th in 2019. And I Raymond Keller, when he went to Venus, he was in China teaching English, and the little Venusian girl that he met, he didn't know, but she didn't age. And so she came into the bar and she said, "I'm famished." And he sat down, he ordered her a vegetarian pizza. And she says, "I'm in my etheric double. My other body is at the Lopner rocket base in China. I'm acting as a translator for the Brazilian space program in China. I want you to all know that the governments of the world have been traveling in outer space for many, many, many years. They keep this secret from you because if you were to be aware of their healing technology and the other advanced technologies of healing that they have, it would be time for the bellicose militarists, the greedy financiers, and the religious hucksters to be away. And this planet has been owned by the demons. There was actually a covenant made where the fall of Earth. This world has various spiritual leaders. Is Raymond coming? Okay. Oh, let's bring him a chair up here, folks. So we got all the cards. Did you start passing the cards out, James? Thank you so much for that. So let's give a little round of applause for Dr. Raymond Keller. So I'm going to have you have a seat right here, Cos. So Raymond's going to maybe talk a little bit here. But so he was there and she said, "Would you like to go to an ascension party?" He had always suspected, like I suspected, the people are meeting from Venus. And in the Bible, Hebrews 13:2, "Be ye kind to strangers, and beware, lest ye entertain angels unaware." So the angels are here, and they're not here to show off that they are ascended masters. None of them look over 30 years old. And that story I'm not going to go into. It's in my website, and it's in the books that he has where he talks about the Venusians. So Raymond Keller, the next day, she picked him up and took him to the roof, and she activated, they have a little device that's activated by the booties, the higher intelligence. And it turned into a lotus flower. When you see Tibet, all the people in Tibet come from Lemuria. They went inside the earth and down below the earth, and the Atlanteans, when the cataclysm took place a long time ago, when Lemuria was sunk, 64 million souls died in one night. This was as a result of the greed, the power, the control. Mankind's spiritual development was exceeded by his technological development when the Vihamanas and the Devas were on Earth. So we have been recovering from this great default. Babaji, the Mahavatar, and Mataji, and the other high spiritual beings have maintained, Lapika Lords of Karma, have maintained the truth and protected mankind. But a long time ago, this earth, the interior government from the higher dimensions sided with Lucifer, the fallen one. And so we think that, oh, the governments are just making mistakes. No, they're very organized. And the fallen beings, mostly from Alpha Draconis and from Orion, they're not like us. And they have some very negative plans, and they've gone against God. So that covenant had to be respected. And that covenant lasted 16,000 years, and it ended on December 21st in 2012 when Raymond was taken to Venus. And he landed in Tibet, and there were 5,000 of these lotus flowers that turned into a small ball, and they traveled with all the guests that were going to Venus. So Raymond went around the backside of the moon and saw the base. It's an embassy of many, many different races watching the earth. And they're very concerned for us. And they work through the avatars and the spiritual teachers. And I want to tell you that when they look over India, India registers 7.5 on the spiritual scale. They go around to every country and they measure what is a spiritual power. And in America, it's 2.1, Russia, 2.3, whatever. No one comes close to the spiritual knowledge of the people of India. You're greatly blessed with so many teachers in the Upanishads. Sanat Kumara comes from Venus, and he is also known as the avatar Jesus the Christ. And that is some history that you can read in the books. So now I'm going to hand over, and I'm going to let Raymond Keller tell you a little about the spiritual mission, and then I'm going to go through my pyramid talk so you can understand the high technology. And we're going to let you hold some of the lasers, and we're going to turn all the lights off, and we're going to do a little laser show. So, ladies and gentlemen, Raymond Keller is going to speak a little bit about the Venusian mission and the greater mission of the Galactic Confederation of Light. There are 601 worlds and 51 solar systems in our quadrant of the galaxy. There are many, many other federations and super federations that have been here. And they've been working hard behind the scenes because mankind must make his own decision. They're not going to fix this for us. But they have been removing the fallen beings who have hybridized themselves with humans. And these humans are your elite, 0.5%. And they do very, very bad things. I don't want to go into the negative things that they do. But you know about the genetically altered foods. You know about the electricity and the 5G. You know about the vaccinations that are to turn you on and off. And don't ever fall for any of their tricks. They have no more power. They have no more money. This is in control of the light forces. They keep promoting negativity and violence and murder on the television. Don't let yourself mentally attach to that. Read the Bhagavad Gita by Paramahansa Yogananda. Practice your spiritual practice of entering into the silence. Babaji said, get absolutely still, don't move. Create your body as an antenna, your chakras focused, and the inner heart is aligned towards God. And God will speak to you. He will guide you. There's a beautiful woman named Mashanti. Is she here? Mashanti? She had a booth out there with Babaji. Very high spiritual. The light in the eyes of so many people here are so spiritual. I feel a great connection, and I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you all the people who did the food. Thank you all the people who donated to make this possible. Thank you, Pari. Thank you to the tech crew. Thank you to all the wonderful teachers who come here today. This is an amazing event. You could not have this in America unless it was guided by the Indians. 3 days for free and vegetarian food? America's too consumed with greed and power and materialism. And the great teachings of the masters are not to fall prey to the materialism, but to seek that which lasts. You don't take anything from this world except the virtuous life that you've lived. Your compassion, your charity, your faith, your honesty, your loyalty, your continence, your courage. All of these things are what you learn in this school. And while the world is in crazy land, murder, gangs, violence, theft, do not fall prey to this. Keep your meditation and pray for the deliverance of mankind. And it's coming. I'm going to talk about some other things that are coming soon. Everyone says we're ascending to the fifth dimension. You ascend to the fifth dimension when you die. You can. But this planet will not ascend anytime soon. You look around, we're not ready. But one day in the future, this will become a celestialized sphere. It'll be raised to a vibration, then on the physical plane, you won't see it. You look out in our solar system and you see 12 planets. There are really 60 planets. They're on the mental plane. These lokas are in a higher dimension. And now is the time that all of the lies are being exposed. But there's going to be a cleansing on the earth. It's not only the beginning of a golden age, it's the end of the power of the darkness of the fallen beings that controlled this planet. Seraphim, Ophanim, Elohim, and Cherubim sided with Lucifer, and they created technologies to suppress your body. They're spraying things in the air. Their plan is to control you and let you be controlled by fallen demons. That's not going to happen. But mankind has to reach the edge, and we're coming to that. So you continue with your Vima in your hand and God's song of God's in your heart to bring the light and the love to the planet. And I'm going to share with you now, Raymond Keller's going to talk about the Venusian mission a little bit, and then I'm going to race through my pyramid thing because I don't want to make this a commercial. But it's important that you understand how important the pyramids are and why they are all around the earth. And I'll share some very advanced technology, the next level of pyramid energy. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Raymond Andrew Keller, who lived on Venus, and he got to look at the Akashic records.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you very much to the organizers of the meditation conference. It's a great pleasure to be here. I started investigating UFOs, paranormal phenomena, and the like when I was in my teenage years, back in the 1960s, the turbulent 60s. I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland, Bedford, Ohio, and had a first encounter with a UFO over a railroad trestle in Walton Hills, Ohio. A small scout craft came down, disc-shaped, traditional flying saucer, and it got me involved in a local UFO club and began investigating cases in the area with Earl Neff. He was the director of the organization, and throughout my life I've worked with many ufologists and so forth. I know this isn't particularly a UFO conference, but I feel it's such a great honor to be here because as I was growing up, one of the groups that drew my attention and became a member of was the Theosophical Society, whose founder it was Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. And the first international headquarters of the Theosophical Society was set up in Madras, in India. And Miss Blavatsky made 2 trips to India. She was trying to reach the Himalayas to be in contact with the masters of the East. And she didn't make it on the first time. She had health problems and various obstacles, but on the second time she did. And when she came back to her home in England at that time, in 1887, the first thing that she wrote after returning from India was History of a Planet. And you know what that planet was? It was Venus. She said it was the connection with the greatest connection with the masters. It was the most mysterious, powerful, and occult of all worlds. And when I was
Take it to Venus.
when I was inspired to write Venus Rising, after traveling to Venus, it was my inspiration to do an updated version of Helena Blavatsky's History of a Planet, and I called my book Venus Rising, A Concise History of the Second Planet. But we all know that the immensity of space, all of outer space, is filled with intelligent life. And so I call NASA, NASA, never a straight answer, because they don't want us to know. That's too empowering for us to know that we're part of a greater galactic brotherhood and sisterhood. And I just want to tell you why they're here, and then I don't want to take up too much time. But they are here to promote the unity of humankind, to prepare us for entry into that greater galactic community. They want to promote continuing education, that we never stop learning, even when we continue on into other incarnations or go on to higher dimensions and so forth, higher realms. We're always learning, always progressing, learning in all fields: comparative religion, science, mathematics, everything. We don't stop learning. And then lastly, to develop those powers that we have within us, powers that are latent within us. When I was a young man, not in my 70s like now, but I read Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography and all the amazing things he could do. So he's at a future level of what we can be, where the Venusians are and where other extraterrestrials are at. And so as these extraterrestrials were once like us, they have evolved, and they want to help us to develop those powers in us so that we'll be on equal terms with them and we could enter as equals into the Galactic Confederation. And so there's many people that have confirmed the existence of this body. Haim Mashed in Israel, the space expert there, and Paul Hellyer, the defense minister in Canada, he said, yeah, there's a galactic confederation out there, and we have a bright future that one day we're going to be members of it. So that's my purpose in life, is to bring the message of the Venusians and to promote the advancement of humankind. And I know that has some synchronicity and some connection with the great work in promoting meditation, connection to the higher self, and it's all very, very important. It's all part of the same plan. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be free to answer questions in the back.
Thank you so much, Raymond Keller. He's very humble. He doesn't like to talk about some of the magical things that has happened to him. And he explains a lot of things about time travel and many advanced things. And I'm going to tell you now, I laid the foundation. In the early days, I was leaving my body. My master teacher had an ashram in Laguna. And he was a teacher on the fifth ray of concrete science and knowledge. He was a master, not an ascended master. And so I would go into the temple. He'd call me at night. He said, nighttime. I go, why do we go up at nighttime? He says, the astral plane, he said, everyone's sleeping, and we can do the work in the higher planes. So I would go up to his house at 1 a.m, and I would light incense in all 4 corners on all 3 levels, and I would sit down in the middle of these pyramid systems. So this is the pyramid presentation. I'm going to go very quickly, and most of you know this information, but I'm going to give you some understanding of the pyramids. Next slide, please. Next slide. Pyramidology. It's prana, ki, chi, sumo, odetic force. The pyramid is resonant to the Earth's magnetic field. Pyra comes from the Latin word pyra, which means fire, and medi, which means middle. Fire in the middle. Next slide. The pyramid is shaped like a carbon atom. We have 4 main elements that comprise the entire universe: carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Everything on the material plane is connected. That's earth, air, water, and fire. That's all we have left. All the natives talk about the earth, the fire, and the water, and these elements have different frequencies of creation. The pyramid is the only inanimate object that has a life force. Next slide. You can see the rainbow. It divides the Earth's magnetism. Why do we value diamonds? See the diamond on the right? That's a pyramid octahedron. That's why people value diamonds. Gold's molecular structure is pyramid shaped. Why do we value gold? It's not to show off in an ostentatious display of wealth. Why do all the temples in the East have gold? Because gold frequency. Remember down in South America, the conquistadors said, give us your gold. And they said, oh, this must be Quetzalcoatl returning, because Quetzalcoatl, they would do prayers in the gold-filled temples. And this raises the vibration. The pyramid. Patriji was correct. Pyramids are very important. Next slide. Every shape has an energy. So the molecule is octahedral, and so we're going to go to the next slide. So there you see. So some religions have these materials by hoarding them. No, it's about the energy of the pyramid. Next slide. There we go. Everything in the molecule, I already mentioned that. Next slide. Okay, what the pyramid produces is the ultimate atom. It's not even visible on the physical plane, okay? This is a subatomic particle that creates prana, ki, chi. Tibetans call it sumo. The Germans zodetic force. The people in Hawaii call it mana. This is the life force that runs through your body into your chakras. Next pyramid. Negative ions. Negative ions are which run your blood cells. When you breathe in an electric charge. Babaji taught me the breath of fire. Supercharging the body with electricity. And he taught me how to circulate the light from the top to the bottom, very slowly and very quickly, to supercharge and to create a connection like an antenna. And God listens to you. When you enter into the silence and stillness, you're listening to God. And you can do prayers. Speak to him as a little child in your heart. No one has to be around. You don't have to do a big display. Do this in your closet where no one can see you. And you ask God the truth. And it will come to you. And he will bring these things to you. And the pyramid is a technology that has been used by the extraterrestrials on many worlds. And the shape of the pyramid and the angle of the pyramid is different on each world based on the magnetism and the level of consciousness on whichever plane they're on. I was initiated into the order of Melchizedek. I was asked to, and an extraterrestrial came down, put his hand on my head, and a light came through my body. So I've been initiated into this, and I'm here to tell you, if I can do it, this lowly little Western body, I'm here to tell you and to give you faith that the teachings of God and the ascended masters are real. And the work of Patriji and everything that he's done has been very, very important. 25,000 pyramids around the world inspired by him. Woo! Oh my God, when I started reading about him, my teacher had told me to look for the guy in India, and I saw the big 5,001 and the 6,000 seating one, and then Pari called me, and I read the mission. I go, this man is a saint, and I can't believe I didn't know about him sooner. But this is an amazing thing that he's done. So let's go to the next one. We're going to find out how negative ions are made. Next pyramid. They connect with the bloodstream. It works as a magnetic concentration in the body, and it protects the body from negative energies by building up the charge of life force. Next slide. Plants create negative ions. Trees. This is why mankind is destroying and deforestation the planet. It's not good. We're taking away our source of negative ions. Jet aircraft. We're flying around in antiquated energies. We could be flying in Vimanas. The government is. The elite families of the world do the bidding of the fallen beings. Those beings are mostly gone now, and I can tell you that many of these elite beings who did horrible things, and don't want to talk about the horrible things they've done, but let's just say sacrificing people was part of their plan. They can't do that anymore. They do that and they are eliminated. They don't explode them, they dematerialize them and their souls. So Krishna had to kill one or more individuals who was anti-dharma. Krishna came from Jupiter. He was 26 feet tall and had blue skin. That's coming from Satya Sai Baba. So plants, next slide. That's the galaxy. You see a spiral. That spiral is like the bloodstream. You have a hemoglobin. Next slide. This is the pyramid. Now I'm going to define pyramid energy for you from a scientific explanation. Pyramid energy is progressive energy transfer through geometric focusing and dynamic electrical amplification over a measured plane of coordinates. That is pyramid energy. That's the actual sign of it. So we're going to go to 10 to 11 o'clock. So we go to how does a pyramid work? Next slide. The gold is a calming energy. We have nickel and gold. Next slide. The copper is nickel, gold, and copper. Next slide. Copper is energy, so it's calming and energy. Next slide. The silver one resonates with the pineal gland. Next slide. These are the devices that stop the negative energy. They put energy in electrical systems in your house. EMF, it destroys your body. Next slide. These are another device for a larger one. Next slide. You can see we hang them up. These are advanced pyramid technologies to keep you safe and to keep the home free from negative energies that they pump into your house. Next slide. This one over here. Next slide. This is how it works. Next slide. This is this device, and we're going to be turning off the lights. And those people with the lasers, I want you to shoot them only into here, especially the blue laser. It's very powerful. So when we do the demonstration, we're going to shoot that into here, and you're going to see into the astral plane. This is a meditation. You meditate with a candle. I'm going to tell you a little secret about meditation and incense. Incense, when properly made, like the Satya Sai Baba incense, when you sit in a room with no air, you look at the incense, and if the incense is going straight up, your mind is calm. If the incense is going like this, your mind is not still. So use the incense. You have your candle, or you get a laser and a crystal, and you focus on that. So look at the incense. When it's straight up, you know that your mind is still. You can keep your eyes half open, like Lahari Mahesa, and that type of meditation. Next slide. Water meeting air. Why do you feel good at the beach? Next slide. Or a fire? Because the negative ions. Keep going. Next slide. Lightning storms. All the particles that we put in the air, God clears them. After a lightning storm, negative ions are in abundance. Next slide. Water meeting air. Next slide. When the sands blow, in the Middle East, that's considered a reason to say I was temporarily insane because it affects the bloodstream and the pituitary gland. Crime goes up on a full moon when there's no negative ions in the air. Next slide. So we're polluting the oceans and cutting down. The number one source of oxygen is in the first 60 feet of the ocean. Next slide. So when you wear a pyramid on your head, look at that. You're balancing your endocrine glands. And again, no disrespect to Patriji, but these pyramids are more powerful. Next slide. There's a bed pyramid I sell. Next slide. Next slide. That's my other pyramid that I make with a gold capstone. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. That's another device. I have a small one. It stands this foot tall. Next slide. This is how they work with the pyramids and the crystals and manifestation. This is divine intervention. Next slide. This is the base with the crystals in it. Next slide. We have technology of Tesla. Next slide. I'm just going to take you through these next slides so you can see the energy and how it works with the body and your consciousness. These are advanced pyramid systems that work and interact with your body. Next slide. Next slide. You see these energy fields. Next slide. And all of this is on my website for free. You can look at this entire presentation. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. It all works with the earth. These are the scalar waves, trapezoidal waveforms, that when we work with these together, 10 people meditating can be like 10,000, because this amplifies your thought forms. Crystals are the perfect synthesis of spirit and matter in zero time. Next slide. Next slide. You can see, next slide. Next slide. Just keep going. These are advanced pyramid systems. You see the lasers. We sit in here and meditate. Next slide. That's this device. Next slide. You see the different frequencies. Next slide. Next slide. We create vortexes, artificial time warp zones. Next slide. Next slide. In Egypt, in the midst of the land of Egypt, in the heart and the border thereof, there lies an altar to the Lord. Isaiah 19:19. Next slide. This is about the 7 planes of existence. You have the physical, the astral, the mental, the buddhic, the causal, the atmic, and the logoic plane. All of these planes exist within you in the moment. Ascension is creating the higher dimensional energies in your body, and eventually you'll just disappear from the physical plane. You will not incarnate anymore on the physical plane. Next slide. Look at that pyramid on the left. We take our devices. I have a device that you connect to your pyramid. Look at the divine masculine feminine vortex. Again, no disrespect. You're not going to get that with a paper pyramid. All pyramids have energy. But when you use gold, copper, silver, you can get these type of vortexes. Imagine all of these connected and what that would do. Next slide. How many minutes do I have? I can go to 11, correct? Okay, so we're going to go next slide. The chakra creates life force. The Christ principle is important when understanding. It's a universal principle. The Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Both of these can be considered as the creator, preserver, and the universal principle of change. Dissolution, change. Everything changes. Next. The Christ principle is a principle whereby mind, conditioned by matter through time and space, returns to spirit. That is our mission, is we are enlivening matter and we are ascending the consciousness through our experience. It's a school here. Next slide. Their pyramids are trans-dimensional portals all over the earth. This earth is very special. There are thousands and thousands of pyramids around, and they created free energy. And you had a car, a magnetic sled, you could get in that, and you could fly around. As long as you could see the capstone of the pyramid, it was producing energy. All of this has been hidden and removed by the religions, by the Jesuits. And all the people who stand up here and tell you, I'm a Brahmin, I'm a Christian teacher, they know nothing. Christ came here and the great avatars came here to tell you that you don't need a teacher. God exists within you as you. Sat Chitananda, being awareness, bliss. Okay? So you connect to your own Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Christ, whatever God you want, it doesn't matter. It's the same universal principle of love and the power of being. Next slide. Okay, so the space people used to land. Next slide. Crystals, they all have frequencies. You have 7 notes of the musical scale. In India, you have all 12 notes. 13 is an octave. We have 7 notes, but if you do the half tones, half notes, the 12th scale, 13 is the octave. So now we look at our body, we have 7 chakras, but we have 12 organ meridians. Each meridian has a frequency, a color, and a gemstone. So we can use gemstones with lasers to amplify these frequencies and to heal our endocrine glands and all the organs through frequency, sound, light, and color. Very soon, we're going to go into these pyramid systems, and these are going to heal you. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. These gifts, the jewelry is a thing. So next slide here. I got to keep up on okay, we've got next slide. Okay, I'm going to turn off the lights. I want everyone with a laser to point it into this one. If you have a blue laser, be very careful. Let's bring all the lights down completely off. All these lights, if we can turn them off right now. All lights. Get your laser beam. Please start the laser. Just push the button on the back and point them into this device. Where are the red, the blue lasers? Right on the crystals here. Isn't that beautiful? So we only have a couple lasers. Can you shoot them into there? So do you see how beautiful that is? This is looking into the astral plane, the higher dimensions. Next slide. So you keep going. This is how it works on the body. Keep going, keep going. Just slide, slide. These are the different pieces. That's a being from Venus. Next slide. Animals love pyramids. Okay, so I'm going to have to go here, but I wanted you to understand the power of pyramids a little bit deeper and the advanced technology that's being given to us to connect with God. And my experiences with Babaji, with Satya Sai Baba, and meeting ascended masters, and their energy is very high. And they're not about spaceships and spacesuits. And you don't have to know anything about spaceships or spacesuits. But if you have love in your heart and you served your fellow man, you are part of the angel force. I have recordings, many of them, and you can go to my website. I'm going to have you take the rest of my business cards, and I'm going to have you share them. We want to get rid of all the business cards. They're all gone? Very good. Thank you very much for having me here today. It's been a great honor. I want to thank you all. I'd like to thank Kari. I'd like to thank everyone who made this possible. And it's been a great honor and a pleasure for me to come here all the way from California in my little car, bringing these devices. If you're interested in anything, please check out my website. I have many, many videos talking about these things. So I'm going to ask those wonderful people who helped me put these things up here. And James, I'm going to have you come back here to help get all of these off the stage carefully. And we're going to take 3 people, we're going to take them all the way back to my booth and get them off the stage here. We can put them, huh? And the hats, if you could pass them forward. If you'd like to come to my booth and purchase one, we'd love that. I have some greatly discounted devices here. So thank you so very much. It's been a great honor. Again,